At least 30 Palestinians were killed by Israeli gunfire near U.S. backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid sites. This is according to the Hamas run Gaza Health Ministry. The IDF said it fired warning shots at suspects posing a threat. The incident follows previous deadly clashes at aid sites, with over 300 reported dead and more than 2,600 injured since GHF began operations in late May. United Nations officials criticized Israel's conduct, accusing it of weaponizing food, while UN agencies have refused to work with the GHF, the BBC has reported. Witnesses and doctors described the aid distribution as chaotic and deadly, with many victims suffering gunshot wounds. Israel launched a strike on Iranian state television and warned up to 330,000 residents in central Tehran to evacuate, following a deadly Iranian missile attack that killed at least 8 civilians. The escalation marks the fourth day of open warfare between the two nations. President Trump, attending the G7 summit in Canada, urged immediate evacuation of Tehran and reiterated that Iran must not acquire nuclear weapons. He claimed Iran is ready to negotiate, but criticized its failure to strike a deal before Israel's assault, CBS News has reported. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the attacks have severely damaged Iran's nuclear program. The death toll from a weekend attack in Nigeria has risen to 150, according to survivors, as villagers continue to search through burned homes for victims and missing persons. Armed assailants opened fire and set homes ablaze late Friday, targeting residents, many of whom had fled previous violence. No group has claimed responsibility, but such attacks are often linked to ongoing clashes between herders and farmers over land and water access, the Associated Press has reported. The president condemned the attack as, quote, senseless bloodletting and plans to visit the area. The head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog warned that Israeli strikes on Iran's Natanz facility may have caused internal radiological and chemical contamination, though radiation levels outside remain normal. IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi highlighted the dangers of uranium hexafluoride exposure and stressed the need for timely data from Iran to assess risks. Satellite imagery shows major damage to Natanz, while other facilities in Iran were also hit. However, key sites like Fordo and in Tehran Research Reactor remain unaffected, the Associated Press has reported. Grossi warned that continued military escalation increases the risk of a serious radiological incident. At least 2 people were killed and 32 injured after an iron bridge collapsed over a river on Sunday in India. Heavy rains had swollen the river, and many tourists were on the bridge when it gave way. 6 people remain in critical condition, and rescue efforts are ongoing as some were swept away, ABC News has reported. The incident highlights ongoing concerns about infrastructure safety in India, recalling a deadly 2022 bridge collapse that killed 132 people. Authorities are investigating whether Vance Bolter, arrested for the fatal shooting of Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the attempted murder of Senator John Hoffman and his wife, acted alone or was part of a larger network. Bolter, 57, was captured after a 2-day manhunt and faces multiple murder charges. Officials say he disguised himself as a police officer and may have had a hit list targeting Democratic lawmakers. While authorities believe he acted alone, they are exploring possible connections to a broader network, the Daily Beast has reported. The motive appears to be political, possibly fueled by extremist views and personal struggles. A juror in the Sean Diddy Combs trial was dismissed after reportedly giving conflicting information about whether he lives in New York or New Jersey, raising concerns about his candor. The status of a second juror remains unresolved after allegations surfaced that they may have improperly discussed the case with a former colleague. The judge left the bench without making a final ruling on that matter, NBC News has reported. Combs is facing 5 serious criminal charges, including racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking, all of which he has adamantly denied. A knife-wielding man, identified as Jonathan Wool, 37, attacked 3 court officers in a targeted assault at Manhattan Criminal Court on Monday, slashing 2 in the face and neck and injuring a third. Wool, who has a history of arrest and was known for harassing court staff, had no scheduled appearances for that day. The injured officers are in stable condition, and Wool was subdued and then taken into custody at the scene, the New York Post has reported. The attack has reignited concerns over safety and understaffing in New York courthouses, with union leaders urging immediate action to protect court personnel and the public. 5 people were shot at an annual carnival near Salt Lake City, with 3, including an 8-month-old infant, killed. The shooting began after a verbal altercation between 2 groups, when a 16-year-old male pulled out a gun and opened fire. 2 others, a 17-year-old female and a 15-year-old male, were injured, while a pregnant woman was hurt fleeing the scene, CBS News has reported. The teen suspect is in custody, and authorities expressed heartbreak over the tragedy at a community event meant for celebration. A former Coast Guard lieutenant and a sharpshooter, Peter Stinson, has been arrested for allegedly threatening to kill President Donald Trump. Federal court documents detail years of violent social media posts from Stinson, including support for a, quote, contract hit and praise for the 2024 assassination attempt on Trump. Prosecutors say he also identified as a member of Antifa and made recent threats, prompting a judge to order his detention pending further hearings, CBS News has reported. The case highlights a broader rise in threats against political figures, with authorities noting an increase in politically motivated violence and harassment. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told ABC News that targeting Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei would end the conflict between Israel and Iran, not escalate it. Netanyahu described Iran as a regime spreading terror in the Middle East and insisted that Israel's actions are preventing nuclear war by targeting Iran's nuclear program and top scientists. He urged U.S. support, warning that a threat from Iran extends beyond Israel to America and then the world, ABC News has reported. Meanwhile, Iran condemned Israeli attacks, blaming the United States as backing, and suspended nuclear talks amid rising tensions that have already caused hundreds of deaths on both sides. Stephen Crowchild, a Canadian Indigenous leader, said he was, quote, filled with rage and nearly left before President Donald Trump's arrival at the G7 summit, due to the pain that President Trump has caused globally. After praying and consulting with his community, Crowchild stayed to have a lengthy conversation with President Trump on the tarmac, hoping to highlight peace, clean water, and indigenous issues. Wearing traditional regalia and speaking in his language, Crowchild shared treaty medals with Trump, emphasizing his people's long history, the Associated Press has reported. Though uncertain if President Trump listened, Crowchild chose diplomacy over anger, standing proud as he represented his First Nation community. At the G7 summit in Canada, President Donald Trump said Iran wants to talk but should have done so earlier, stressing that Iran must make a deal soon to avoid further conflict. He acknowledged receiving messages from Iran signaling a desire to de-escalate, but declined to discuss potential U.S. military involvement. The summit also focused on trade tensions, with President Trump promoting tariffs and signing a trade agreement with the United Kingdom, while relations with some allies remained strained, CBS News has reported. President Trump suggested reconsidering Russia's exclusion from the group and highlighted his close ties with Putin, sparking mixed reactions from other leaders. The American Bar Association has sued the Trump administration, accusing it of intimidating major law firms through executive orders targeting their past clients and employees. The lawsuit alleges these orders violate the Constitution by pressuring lawyers to abandon cases that the president opposes. Several agencies and officials, including Attorney General Pam Bondi, are named. The ABA called the administration's actions, quote, uniquely destructive, warning that they undermine the judiciary's role. 4 law firms previously won court rulings blocking similar orders. The White House dismissed the lawsuit as frivolous. Despite legal battles, Some firms pledged nearly $1 billion in free legal services to avoid sanctions, Al Jazeera has reported. The lawsuit intensifies tensions between the ABA and the administration, which has cut funding and challenged the ABA's role in judicial nominations. Costco will open a new standalone gas station in Mission Viejo, California by spring, replacing a former Bed Bath & Beyond store. The station, available only to Costco members, will feature 40 pumps but no convenience store. Located near Interstate 5, it's just 2.5 miles from Costco's Laguna Niguel warehouse. Now, this marks the first of its kind standalone fuel site for Costco, Fox Business has reported. The company recently extended gas station hours nationwide, contributing to record high fuel sales in April. Mitsubishi Corporation is in talks to acquire U.S. shale and pipeline assets from Aethon Energy Management for around $8 billion. This is according to a source familiar with the matter. The deal would give Mitsubishi a major natural gas foothold near the U.S. Gulf Coast. Aethon, backed by Redbird Capital and the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, operates significant gas assets in Louisiana, East Texas, and Wyoming, Reuters has reported. And while discussions are ongoing, a final agreement has not yet been reached. President Trump fired Christopher Hansen, a Democratic member of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, in a move that Hansen called illegal. Hansen said that he was terminated without cause, violating laws protecting independent agency appointees. Although a Democrat, Hansen was nominated by President Trump back in 2020. The White House defended the firing, saying leaders should align with the president's agendas. The NRC confirmed that Hansen's departure, but then they gave no details. This action follows similar attempts by the administration to remove Democrats from independent commissions, despite a recent court ruling that deemed such firings illegal, The Hill has reported. Critics warn Hansen's removal threatens nuclear safety, and the administration pushes to loosen regulations and expand nuclear power. President Trump's family business is launching a Trump-branded phone service, offering a $500 gold-colored smartphone and a $47.45 monthly plan, referencing Trump as the 45th and the 47th president. Ethics watchdogs warn the venture poses conflicts of interest and potential corruption. Critics also question the claim that the phone is fully U.S. made, calling that virtually impossible, the BBC has reported. The Trump Organization says that the business is ran by his sons, though concerns remain over influence and policy conflicts. Professor Ping Lu and his team at the University of Hong Kong have developed the Aerial Elephant Trunk, a groundbreaking aerial manipulator inspired by an elephant's trunk. Unlike traditional drone arms, the AET is highly flexible, capable of changing shape and grasping objects of various sizes using its entire body. This innovation allows it to perform complex tasks in tight or cluttered environments, such as disaster sites and high-voltage lines, Tech Explorer has reported. Published in Nature Communications, the research marks a major step forward for aerial robotics and the low-altitude economy. Denmark has deployed 4 uncrewed robotic sailboats called Voyagers for a 3-month trial to boost maritime surveillance in the Baltic and North Seas amid rising tensions since Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Built by U.S. firm Saildrone, these 10-meter wind and solar-powered vessels are equipped with advanced sensors and AI to monitor threats like sabotage, smuggling, and undersea cable damage. The trial supports NATO's push for a layered maritime surveillance system that combines drones, ships, satellites, and seabed sensors for cost-effective, constant monitoring of maritime threats, the Associated Press has reported. Astronomers have used fast radio burst, brief, powerful flashes of radio waves to detect previously unseen ordinary matter in the universe, helping to solve the long-standing, quote, missing Byron problem. Now, while the dark matter and dark energy dominate the cosmos, only about 10% of ordinary matter has been directly observed. The rest, believed to be spread across the intergalactic medium, was too diffuse to detect until now, CNN has reported. By measuring how FRBs slow as they pass through this cosmic fog, researchers were able to map and weigh the elusive matter, offering new insights into the universe's hidden structure. Archaeologists in Israel have unearthed a rare and richly carved Roman era marble sarcophagus depicting a unique scene of a drinking contest between the Greek gods Dionysus and Hercules, dating to the 2nd and 3rd century CE and likely imported from northwestern Turkey. The artifact was probably commissioned by a wealthy pagan family. Found outside the ancient city walls, the sarcophagus was later part of the Byzantine mausoleum. Its detailed engravings and unusual mythological theme offer insights into the identity and lifestyle of the buried individual, the Times of Israel has reported. Further research on the site is still ongoing. A sunspot facing Earth has rapidly become highly active, producing multiple strong M-class solar flares in under 24 hours, including a powerful M8.46 flare on June the 15th, just below the strongest X-class level. This flare also triggered a coronal mass ejection, or CME, part of which may reach Earth around June 18th, and if it does, it could cause minor geomagnetic storms and possibly visible auroras in the northern U.S. states, Space.com has reported. The M8.46 flare temporarily disrupted radio signals over sunlit regions of North America, highlighting the impact of solar activity on Earth's communication systems. Archaeologists in northern Denmark have uncovered a 10th century Viking burial site containing about 30 graves and a trove of rare artifacts, including pearls, coins, and a gold thread box. The graves are believed to be linked to a noble family from the Viking Age, possibly connected to King Harold Bluetooth. Notably, one grave, likely that of a prominent woman, held a rare decorative box, one of only 3 known, the AFP has reported. The discovery occurred during construction, and full analysis will begin after excavations conclude. British MPs have voted in favor of a historic amendment to decriminalize women who end their own pregnancies, with a majority of 242. Introduced by a Labour MP, the amendment removes the risk of prosecution for women under outdated abortion laws. While abortion remains legal up to 24 weeks with 2 doctors' approval, it is still technically a criminal offense under 19th and early 20th century legislation. The change, not yet law, is part of the crime and policing bill moving through Parliament, the U.S. Sun has reported. Advocates, including the British Pregnancy Advisory Service, called it a landmark step for women's rights. A massive overnight Russian missile and drone attack on Ukraine killed 15 people and injured 156, with Kyiv suffering its deadliest strike this year. A 9-story apartment building in the capital was destroyed, and explosions lasted nearly 9 hours. President Zelensky called it, quote, one of the most terrifying strikes, and urged more Western support amid intensified Russian offensives, the Associated Press has reported. The attack followed failed peace talks and came as the United Kingdom and Canada announced new sanctions on Russia and additional aid for Ukraine during the G7 summit. At least 24 flights to and from Bali were canceled after Indonesia's Mount Lutabi Laki-Laki erupted, sending ash 10 kilometers into the sky. The volcano, located on Flores Island, prompted the highest alert level and forced village evacuations. Affected airlines included Jetstar, Virgin Australia, and Air India. While Bali's airport remains operational, cancellations depend on flight routes, the AFP has reported. No casualties were reported. Indonesia frequently experiences volcanic activity due to its location on the Pacific Ring of Fire. A Kenyan police officer has been arrested after shooting an unarmed protester in the head during demonstrations over the death of a blogger in police custody. The incident, captured on video by a journalist, occurred amid violent clashes, where motorbike riding goons attacked protesters while police looked on. The blogger was arrested for allegedly defaming a top police official. and then later died in custody. An autopsy suggests he was assaulted, the DW has reported. The president of Kenya has acknowledged police involvement, and investigations continue as public outrage over police brutality intensifies. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was hospitalized Tuesday after experiencing an allergic reaction. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin stated that Noem was, quote, alert and is currently recovering. She was transported to a D.C. area hospital as a precaution, The Hill has reported. According to CNN, Noem was conscious and had spoken to her doctor and security detail and is expected to recover. Thousands of residents across Spain and parts of Europe protested on Sunday against mass tourism, blaming it for rising housing costs and the displacement of locals. In cities like Barcelona, demonstrators sprayed tourists with water guns and held signs that said, "Tourists go home." Similar protests occurred in Venice and Lisbon. Activists say over-tourism and short-term rentals like Airbnb are driving out residents and reshaping the neighborhoods, CBS News has reported. Spain, which saw a record 94 million tourists in 2024, is cracking down, with Barcelona planning to eliminate all 10,000 short-term rental licenses by the year 2028. A woman was struck and killed by a truck hauling an Army M1 Abrams tank in Washington, D.C., 2 days after the tank participated in a military parade for the Army's 250th birthday. The incident occurred on June 16th as the vehicle convoy was returning the tank to a rail yard in Maryland. Police and emergency responders pronounced the woman dead at the scene, and an initial investigation found no criminal intent or negligence by the civilian truck driver, USA Today has reported. No military personnel were involved, and the Army referred further questions to the local authorities. New York City Comptroller and mayoral candidate Brad Lander was arrested by ICE agents on Tuesday at the city's main immigration court and then released after 4 hours. Video shows Lander asking for a judicial warrant before being handcuffed. DHS claims he was detained for assaulting and impeding federal officers, though no charges had been filed as of Tuesday evening. His arrest sparked outrage from officials, with New York Governor Kathy Hochul denouncing it and Attorney General Letitia James calling it a, quote, shocking abuse of power, CNBC has reported. The incident comes amid heightened tensions over federal enforcement actions involving public officials. R. Kelly's lawyers allege that he overdosed on medication that was provided by prison staff while in solitary confinement on June the 12th, leading to his hospitalization the next day. They claim that he was given an overdose quantity of anxiety and sleep medication and was later removed from Duke University Hospital against medical advice. The incident follows claims that prison officials allegedly plotted to have him killed and placed him in solitary confinement after his legal team filed an emergency motion for his release, USA Today has reported. His attorney says the situation is dire and is again appealing to President Donald Trump for a pardon, claiming R. Kelly's life is at risk. 7 California men have been charged in the largest jewelry heist in U.S. history, involving the theft of $100 million in gold, gems, and luxury watches from a Brinks truck in 2022. The suspects allegedly tracked the truck for 300 miles from a San Francisco area jewelry show and then stole 24 bags while it was parked at a rest stop in Lebec. No weapons were used, and the robbery was discovered when a driver noticed a missing padlock, believed to have been sawed off, the BBC has reported. Some stolen items have been recovered, but most remain missing, leaving affected elderly jewelers devastated. Vice President J.D. Vance defended President Trump's stance on Iran, emphasizing Trump's consistent opposition to Iran obtaining nuclear weapons and support for diplomatic efforts to prevent uranium enrichment. Vance criticized Iran for violating non-proliferation rules and rejected claims that their enrichment is necessary for civilian energy. He praised President Trump's restraint and focus on protecting U.S. interests, while warning that military action remains an option, Fox News has reported. Meanwhile, Trump demanded Iran's unconditional surrender after recent Israeli attacks on Iranian nuclear sites and claimed U.S. and Israeli control over Iranian airspace. Tucker Carlson and Senator Ted Cruz clashed in a tense interview over Cruz's support for President Trump and his stance on Iran amid rising U.S.-Israel tensions with the country. Carlson grilled Cruz on basic facts about Iran, such as its population and its ethnic makeup, accusing him of ignorance while advocating for regime change. The exchange escalated into shouting, with Carlson questioning Cruz's sincerity about Iran threatening Trump, and Cruz defending ongoing U.S. support for Israeli military strikes, The Hill has reported. Carlson, a critic of Middle East intervention, has warned Trump against escalation, while Trump dismissed Carlson's views and reaffirmed his hardline position on Iran. Nearly 70,000 people have signed up for the new $5 million Golden Trump Card visa program, a residency scheme led by U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. The visa offers legal U.S. residency in exchange for a large investment and features a gold card with Donald Trump's face and signature. The initiative, originally proposed by billionaire donor John Paulson, aims to raise funds to reduce the national debt and attract global talent. Lutnick hopes it will replace the existing EB-5 investor visa, the Financial Times has reported. Details on eligibility, taxes, and vetting are still being finalized, and the White House has yet to approve the full plan. Adobe has launched its Firefly generative AI app for iPhone and Android, allowing users to create images and videos from text, edit photos with AI tools, and access third-party models like Google's Imagen and OpenAI's Image Generator. The app syncs with Creative Cloud and includes features like Generative Fill and Expand for Photoshop. Adobe also expanded its Firefly Boards platform, adding new video generation tools and support for models like Luma AI's Ray 2 and Runway's Gen 4, The Verge has reported. Some features require Firefly credits, available through Creative Cloud plans or subscriptions. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy announced that artificial intelligence will likely lead to a smaller corporate workforce in the coming years, as AI increases efficiency and changes how work is done. In a blog post, he said AI will reduce the need for some jobs while creating new roles, though the overall impact remains uncertain. Jassy emphasized that AI will transform work across all industries and urged employees to view AI as helpful teammates, CNN has reported. His comments reflect broader concerns in the tech industry about AI's potential to eliminate white-collar jobs, though economists say it's still unclear how much AI is currently affecting hiring trends. Dr. Vipul Patel in Florida successfully performed a prostate cancer surgery on a patient in Angola using transcontinental robotic telesurgery, marking a medical milestone. The operation, part of an FDA-approved clinical trial, used advanced fiber optic technology to eliminate any delay in remote control. Patel's team was on site in Africa as a backup, The Independent has reported. This breakthrough offers significant potential for expanding access to advanced medical care in underserved global and rural U.S. regions. Former Senator Bob Menendez began serving an 11-year prison sentence on Tuesday at a federal facility in Pennsylvania. The 71-year-old New Jersey Democrat was convicted on 16 counts, including bribery and acting as a foreign agent for Egypt, after a 2023 trial revealed he sold political influence for cash and gold. Once chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Menendez joins a short list of senators to serve time. He and his co-defendants are appealing their convictions, raising constitutional issues that could reach the Supreme Court, Politico has reported. Menendez has also hinted at seeking a pardon from President Donald Trump. Early Thursday, Iran launched around 30 ballistic missiles at Israel, hitting Soroka Medical Center in Beersheba and causing damage and injuries in Holon and Ramat Gan. The strike injured over 60 people, including 6 seriously. Soroka's old surgical ward, recently evacuated, was struck, but most injuries were minor due to prior precautions. Iran claimed the hospital was near a military target, but Israeli officials denied any military presence there, calling the attack a war crime, the Times of Israel has reported. Soroka, a key hospital for Israel's south, temporarily closed to new patients except for critical cases. In a surprising move, Honda successfully launched and landed a prototype reusable rocket on June 17th, aiming for suborbital spaceflight by the year 2029. The 20.6-foot rocket reached 889 feet during testing in northern Japan, demonstrating key reusability technologies. While still in early research phases, Honda has expanded its space efforts through U.S.-based initiatives and partnerships, including International Space Station tech trials and satellite refueling systems, Gizmodo has reported. The milestone marks a significant step in Japan's broader goal to double its space industry by the year 2030. French President Emmanuel Macron warned against using military force to overthrow Iran's regime, saying it would lead to chaos and regional instability. Speaking at the G7 summit, Macron cautioned that forced regime change, as seen in Iraq and Libya, had disastrous consequences. His comments come amid concerns the U.S. may join Israel's military campaign against Iran, Politico has reported. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz confirmed President Trump is considering that option, while Trump himself said he wants a, quote, real end to the conflict and is not inclined to negotiate. U.S. stocks fell sharply Tuesday as rising oil prices and escalating tensions between Israel and Iran rattled markets. The S&P 500 dropped 0.8%. The Dow fell 299 points, and the Nasdaq lost 0.9%. Oil prices surged over 4% after President Trump intensified rhetoric against Iran, prompting fears of disruption in global supply. Weaker than expected U.S. retail sales also added to concerns about economic slowdown. Solar stocks tumbled amid potential loss of clean energy tax credits, while Verve Therapeutics saw major gains, the Associated Press has reported. The Federal Reserve began its policy meeting, expected to hold rates steady. President Donald Trump said he will not call Minnesota Governor Tim Walz following a shooting that killed Democratic state lawmaker Melissa Hortman and injured another state lawmaker. President Trump condemned the violence, but dismissed contacting Governor Walz, calling him, quote, a mess. The suspect, 57-year-old Vance Bolter, was arrested and charged with murder and stalking after allegedly impersonating a police officer and targeting Democratic lawmakers. Authorities found notebooks with the names of political figures and abortion rights advocates, but no clear manifesto, Al Jazeera has reported. The attack has heightened concerns over political violence, with officials continuing to investigate Bolter's motives. A knife-wielding attacker broke into Andrew Tate's compound in Romania, stabbing a 53-year-old construction worker in the arm. The suspect, a Ukrainian national, was initially released after offering a vague explanation, but returned later and then was arrested. Tate claimed that the man had been lurking near his home and criticized the police for delayed action. Authorities are investigating the motive, the U.S. Sun has reported. The incident follows ongoing legal troubles for Tate and his brother Tristan, who face multiple serious charges, including human trafficking and rape in both Romania and the United Kingdom. Hurricane Eric rapidly intensified off Mexico's southern Pacific coast, doubling in strength in less than a day. Scientists say that such rapid intensification is becoming more common due to climate change. Hurricane Eric is expected to become the strongest early season storm to hit that region, with ideal conditions fueling its growth. While comparisons are being made to the 2023 deadly Hurricane Otis, experts note that Eric is less dangerous due to cooler subsurface waters and earlier timing, the Associated Press has reported. Still, warm surface waters and moist air are creating near-perfect conditions for the storm's continued strengthening. Police are investigating a break-in at the boarded-up home of Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, who were both fatally shot in a politically motivated attack over the weekend. The rear window had been pried open, but nothing appears to be missing. The home had been processed as a crime scene and then boarded up with surveillance in place. The suspect, Vance Bolter, was arrested after a 40-hour manhunt and faces state and federal charges, NBC News has reported. The killings, which also left a state senator and his wife wounded, have heightened concerns over rising political violence. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth faced intense questioning from Senate Democrats during a congressional hearing over recent Trump administration military actions. Senator Elisa Slotkin pressed Hegseth on whether the military was authorized to detain protesters or use lethal force, claims he dismissed, insisting no such orders were given. Tensions rose further when Senator Jackie Rosen challenged him on the firing of top security officials, allegedly influenced by far-right social media figures, ABC News has reported. Hegseth refused to directly answer, prompting Rosen to accuse him of being feckless or complicit and unserious in his role. A section of Interstate 40 through the Great Smoky Mountains has been closed again due to heavy rain, flooding, and now a rock slide near mile marker 450 in Tennessee. Engineers found extensive damage to the highway and ramps, with compromised slopes still underwater. Repairs are expected to take at least 2 weeks, with a long-term fix projected to take years. The closure affects a stretch already damaged by flooding during Hurricane Helene, the Associated Press has reported. The official detour reroutes traffic via I-26 and I-81 as trucks are banned on other nearby mountain roads. On the seventh day of escalating conflict, Israeli jets bombed Iran's Arak nuclear reactor, claiming it was part of a covert nuclear weapons program. The reactor, under reconstruction per the 2015 nuclear deal, was reportedly hit at its core seal. The IAEA confirmed the strike but said that no nuclear material was present. Israel also targeted several other Iranian nuclear sites, damaging key uranium enrichment facilities. Iran denied any weapons ambitions and condemned the attacks as illegal, the BBC has reported. The strikes have killed hundreds in Iran, while Iran has retaliated with ballistic missile attacks on Israel, killing at least 24 people. Karen Reed was found not guilty of murdering her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, in 2022, following a retrial after a previous mistrial. The Massachusetts jury acquitted her of second-degree murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of an accident. She was found guilty only of driving under the influence, receiving 1 year of probation. Prosecutors allege that she hit O'Keefe with her car and left him to die in a blizzard, while the defense argued he was attacked and left outside by others. The case drew national attention, with claims of police cover-ups and media bias, ABC News has reported. Reed, who never testified, thanked her supporters and maintained her innocence. A Republican budget bill proposes selling over 2 million acres of public land across 11 states, sparking criticism from conservationists, hunting groups, and some conservatives. Senator Mike Lee of Utah included the measure to boost energy production, revenue, and housing, excluding national parks and monuments. Despite his defense, the plan faces opposition within his own party, with Representative Ryan Zinke successfully removing similar provisions from the House version, The Hill has reported. Russian President Vladimir Putin offered to mediate between Israel and Iran, proposing a peaceful resolution that would allow Iran to pursue civilian nuclear energy while addressing Israeli security concerns. He emphasized Russia's neutral role and shared proposals with all involved parties, but stressed that the final decision lies with Israel and Iran. Despite warm ties with both nations, Putin noted that Iran has not sought Russian military aid. U.S. President Trump dismissed the offer, urging Putin to focus on resolving Russia's conflict in Ukraine instead, the Associated Press has reported. Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo have reached a draft peace agreement mediated by the United States and Qatar aimed at ending decades of conflict in eastern DR Congo. The deal includes disengagement, disarmament, and possible integration of armed groups, a joint security mechanism, and respect for sovereignty. While Rwanda denies backing the M23 rebels, who control parts of the region, the agreement could pave the way for major Western involvement in the mineral rich area, the BBC has reported. The deal is set to be signed next week, but key questions remain, including whether M23 will withdraw and how disarmament and refugee returns will be handled. 6 months after President Joe Biden left office, Senate Republicans have launched hearings questioning his mental fitness during his presidency. The first hearing, led by Senator John Cornyn, featured 3 witnesses, none from Biden's administration, and focused on claims of cognitive decline and alleged misuse of an auto pen. Democrats boycotted the hearing, calling it political theater and criticizing Republicans for ignoring pressing national issues. In the House, Republicans have subpoenaed Biden's former staff and doctor to testify, the Associated Press has reported. The hearings come amid ongoing GOP efforts to scrutinize Biden's use of an auto pen and issues surrounding his cognitive decline. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has urged negotiations over military action amid rising tensions between Israel and Iran, as US President Trump considers joining Israeli strikes. While some UK conservatives back US intervention, legal concerns have been raised about potential UK involvement. Starmer emphasized de-escalation and diplomacy, especially regarding Iran's nuclear program, and declined to disclose legal advice. Foreign Secretary David Lammy is in talks with the United States, the European Union, and Iranian officials, the BBC has reported. Meanwhile, the UK is preparing evacuation plans for British nationals in Israel. After briefly pausing immigration raids over economic concerns, the Trump administration has reversed course. Border Czar Tom Homan confirmed that ICE will resume worksite enforcement in the agriculture and hospitality sectors, including farms, restaurants, and hotels. While the focus will be on individuals with criminal records, all unauthorized workers are subject to enforcement. Homan emphasized legal hiring practices and blamed Congress for inaction on immigration reform, Axios has reported. The shift comes after Trump acknowledged that aggressive policies were impacting hard-to-replace workers in key industries. President Trump is downplaying concerns that some of his MAGA supporters are breaking with him over the possibility of a U.S. military strike on Iran, amid ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran. While Trump insists his base remains loyal, divisions have emerged within the MAGA movement, with figures like Tucker Carlson and Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene warning that intervention would betray Trump's America First stance. Others, including Vice President J.D. Vance, continue to back President Trump, saying that he can be trusted to avoid unnecessary entanglements, Fox News has reported. The situation is reflecting broader GOP tensions over foreign policy, particularly in light of Trump's past promise to avoid foreign wars. The Italian Institute of Technology has achieved a breakthrough with its Iron Cub 3, the world's first jet-powered flying humanoid robot designed for real-world use. After 2 years of research, including wind tunnel tests and AI-driven aerodynamic modeling, Iron Cub 3 successfully lifted off about 50 centimeters while maintaining stability. Equipped with 4 jet engines and a titanium-reinforced frame, the 70-kilogram robot can hover and perform controlled flight despite its complex humanoid shape and moving limbs. This achievement marks a significant advance in multi-robotics and combining aerial mobility with human-like manipulation, Tech Explorer has reported. Future applications include search and rescue, hazardous environment inspection, and exploration missions. Further testing will continue at a dedicated facility in Genoa. Following U.S. airstrikes on several Iranian nuclear sites, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps declared, quote, "Now the war has begun for us." While initially denying the strikes, Iranian media later confirmed evacuations and limited damage at Fordo. A government advisor downplayed the impact, stating the site had been evacuated in anticipation. A state TV commenter warned that all U.S. personnel in the region are now legitimate targets, the Jerusalem Post has reported. President Trump celebrated the operation, calling it a success and praising the U.S. military. Shares of Circle and Coinbase surged after the Senate passed the Genius Act, which would create a federal framework for U.S. dollar-pegged stablecoins. Circle stock jumped 33%, continuing its strong post-IPO rally, while Coinbase rose over 16%, benefiting from stablecoins as a key revenue source. The Genius Act sets strict rules for stablecoin issuance and centralizes oversight under the Treasury, but still needs House approval, where a different bill proposes shared regulatory authority. If enacted, the law could boost the $260 billion stablecoin market and drive growth for companies like Circle and Coinbase, CNBC has reported. Coinbase also launched a new product enabling e-commerce merchants to accept stablecoins with faster, cheaper payments. A SpaceX Starship prototype, Starship 36, exploded during a routine static fire test at the company's Starbase facility in Texas late Wednesday. The rocket experienced a, quote, catastrophic failure while secured to a test stand, though no injuries or hazards to nearby communities were reported. The incident marks the latest setback for Elon Musk's goal of developing a reusable rocket for Mars colonization. Standing 123 meters tall, Starship is the world's largest and most powerful rocket, The Guardian has reported. Despite multiple recent test failures, SpaceX continues its fail fast, learn fast approach with support from NASA and increasing launch approvals from the FAA. The Swiss National Bank cut interest rates by 25 basis points to 0%, fueling concerns about a return to negative rates. The move was expected as inflation pressures ease, with Switzerland currently facing slight deflation. S&B emphasized a focus on medium-term price stability despite short-term negative inflation. The bank lowered its inflation forecast for 2025 and highlighted economic uncertainty, mainly from abroad. Switzerland's strong franc, driven by its safe haven status, continues to suppress inflation by making imports cheaper. To counter this, the S&B aims to keep interest rates lower than elsewhere to limit the franc's appreciation, CNBC has reported. Following the rate cut, the franc strengthened against the US dollar. President Trump sharply criticized Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell after the Fed kept interest rates steady, calling him destructive and blaming him for costing the U.S., quote, hundreds of billions of dollars by not cutting rates. Trump claimed that rates should be 2.5 points lower to save billions on Biden's short-term debt and labeled Powell a real dummy on social media. Despite Powell's stance to wait for adjusting policy, Trump accused him of being politically motivated and suggested he could do a better job leading the Fed, CNBC has reported. Trump also said he plans to announce his pick for the next Fed chair soon. The United States launched airstrikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites early Sunday, joining Israel's war against Iran's nuclear program in a high-risk move that could escalate into a wider regional conflict. President Trump claimed the sites were, quote, completely obliterated and warned of further attacks if Iran retaliates. Iran condemned the strikes, vowed to respond, and called for a UN Security Council meeting. The attack involved U.S. stealth bombers and bunker-buster bombs targeting Fordo and other Iranian nuclear sites, marking the first combat use of the GBU-57 bomb. Though President Trump previously opposed foreign military entanglements, he sided with Israel after its strikes had already weakened Iran's defenses. The United Nations and global leaders expressed alarm over the potential for a broader war, the Associated Press has reported. Iran maintains its nuclear program is peaceful, but President Trump and Israeli officials argue it poses an imminent threat. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has completed its latest observations of asteroid 2024 YR4, a building-sized space rock that poses no threat to Earth but may strike the moon. New data from the JWST has refined the asteroid's trajectory, raising the chance of a lunar impact on December the 22nd, 2032 to 4.3%. Originally discovered in December of 2024, the asteroid once had a small chance of hitting Earth, but that risk has now been ruled out. A moon impact would create a crater without affecting Earth, offering a rare scientific opportunity to study such an event, Live Science has reported. The asteroid will return to Earth in 2028 for further observation. A hot air balloon crashed in Brazil on June the 21st, and it left at least 8 people dead and 13 others injured or rescued. The balloon was carrying 21 people when it went down in the state of Santa Catarina. The governor confirmed the casualties and said that emergency teams are continuing the search and rescue efforts, Lad Bible has reported. Shocking videos and photos of the incident have circulated on social media. Over 40 Iranian drones targeted multiple regions across Israel early Saturday, with most intercepted by the Israeli Air Force. One drone hit an apartment building, causing damage but no injuries as the residents took shelter. Drones were also intercepted near the Golan Heights. The attacks followed the Israeli Air Force's elimination of Iran's drone unit commander. The IDF reported over 470 drone interceptions since the war began, with more than 1,000 launched overall, Ynet News has reported. Officials praised civilian preparedness, crediting adherence to safety protocols for the lack of casualties. Nearly a year after it sank off Sicily, the luxury superyacht b.c.begley has been raised from the seabed. The disaster killed 7 of the 22 people aboard, including British tech tycoon Mike Lynch and his daughter Hannah. Italian prosecutors requested the yacht be inspected before full removal, as investigations continue into the cause. A United Kingdom report found that extreme winds over 80 miles per hour likely caused the vessel to capsize rapidly. The yacht was anchored near Porticello when it sank during a sudden storm on August 19th of 2024, the BBC has reported. Salvage efforts had previously been delayed after a diver died during the operation. At sunrise, on the summer solstice, around 25,000 people gathered at Stonehenge to witness the sun align with the ancient monument's heel stone, marking the longest day of the year. Visitors were allowed to walk among the stones for the rare event, while over 400,000 people watched online. Temperatures soared across the United Kingdom, prompting the first heat alert since 2023. Built around 2500 BC, Stonehenge is believed to have been a solar-aligned temple, though its exact purpose remains debated, the Associated Press has reported. The event was described as peaceful and enchanting by site officials. Powerful storms and a tornado swept through parts of North Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, killing 3 people and causing widespread damage, including damage to a local regional airport. Winds reached up to 106 miles per hour, knocking out power and prompting a disaster declaration in the state of North Dakota. Nearly 150 million Americans were also under heat advisories or warnings, with some areas experiencing temperatures 20 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. Cooling centers opened in cities like Omaha and Minneapolis, where the heat wave has spread eastward, the Associated Press has reported. Also, 2 Major League Baseball players showed signs of heat illness during games as extreme weather continues to impact much of the United States. A controversial allegation has emerged following last week's political assassinations in Minnesota. The murder suspect, Vance Bolter, has allegedly sent a letter to the FBI, accusing Minnesota Governor Tim Walz of ordering the assassination of Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar. The letter, reportedly sent before the June 14th attacks, that left 2 dead and 2 others hospitalized, claims that Governor Walz wanted Klobuchar's Senate seat, despite Walz already announcing plans to run for a 3rd term as governor. Officials say there's no evidence the letter exists or that the claims are credible, the Dallas Express has reported. Meanwhile, scrutiny has intensified around Walz's recent inflammatory rhetoric and Bolter's unclear political ties, with observers pointing to a broader climate of rising political extremism and media bias. Rhode Island's Democratic-led House has passed a bill banning the sale and the manufacturing of many semi-automatic rifles, commonly known as assault weapons. Governor Dan McKee has pledged to sign it into law, making Rhode Island the 11th state in the union with such a restriction. The ban does not apply to possession, drawing criticism from both gun rights advocates and some gun control supporters who view it as too weak. Supporters say it's a necessary step toward curbing mass shootings, while opponents argue it infringes on constitutional rights and punishes law-abiding gun owners, NBC News has reported. Legal challenges are expected, with the United States Supreme Court possibly taking up the issue very soon. Barry Morphew, the husband of Suzanne Morphew, who went missing on Mother's Day back in 2020 and whose remains were found in 2023, has now been arrested again and charged with first-degree murder. A Colorado grand jury indicted him after earlier charges were dropped due to prosecutorial errors. Suzanne's autopsy revealed that she was killed by a sedative cocktail used to tranquilize wildlife. Though no signs of trauma were found, a tranquilizer gun was discovered in their home. Barry has maintained his innocence, and his lawyers criticized the renewed case as flawed, the Associated Press has reported. He previously sued officials for $15 million over alleged rights violations. Nearly a dozen people were injured Saturday when a mega yacht carrying around 400 passengers struck a dock on the Hudson River in Manhattan. The incident occurred near 130th Street around 4:15 p.m., according to the FDNY. 9 people were hospitalized with minor injuries, and no fatalities were reported. The yacht was later towed to a dock at 125th Street, Fox News has reported. New York City Mayor Eric Adams had not commented on the incident as of early Saturday evening. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer issued a late statement opposing President Trump's airstrikes on Iran's nuclear sites, calling for limits on the president's war powers. His criticism, echoing past Democratic opposition to Trump's military actions, came hours after bipartisan reactions. While Trump's strike was within the bounds of the War Powers Resolution, Schumer and other Democrats support legislation to restrict action against Iran, Breitbart News has reported. Once a strong pro-Israel voice, Schumer has recently faced criticism for distancing himself from Israel and for not addressing rising campus anti-Semitism. Republican senators are calling for an end to federal funding for sanctuary cities like Los Angeles, accusing them of obstructing federal immigration enforcement. Senators Katie Britt, Bernie Moreno, Rick Scott, and others told Fox News Digital that cities refusing to cooperate with ICE promote lawlessness and endanger public safety. They urged Congress to use the, quote, power of the purse to penalize such jurisdictions, Fox News has reported. Some, like Senator Roger Marshall, even linked sanctuary policies to recent unrest, while Democrats like Senator Tim Kaine downplayed the issue. Republicans are arguing that cities ignoring federal law should face consequences. New York City's 2025 municipal races are filled with scandal-plagued candidates seeking political redemption. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, the Democratic mayoral primary frontrunner, is facing renewed scrutiny over past sexual harassment allegations and other controversies. He's up against incumbent Mayor Eric Adams, who is running as an independent after federal corruption charges against him were dropped. Also in the spotlight is former Congressman Anthony Weiner, now running for city council after serving prison time for sending explicit messages to a minor, NBC News has reported. Voters face a complex decision in a race shaped by redemption, denial, and lingering public distrust. President Trump announced U.S. airstrikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites, calling the attacks a quote, spectacular military success, and warning of even greater strikes if Iran does not pursue peace. He emphasized the goal of ending Iran's nuclear threat and praised U.S. and Israeli military cooperation. Iran confirmed the strikes but downplayed their impact and vowed to continue its nuclear program, warning that it reserves the right to defend itself, CBS News has reported. President Trump warned any Iranian retaliation would be met with overwhelming force. The Pakistani government has officially nominated President Donald Trump for the 2026 Nobel Peace Prize, praising his role in mediating the recent military conflict between Pakistan and India. Pakistan credits Trump with helping de escalate tensions following a deadly attack in Kashmir. However, India denies Trump's involvement, with Prime Minister Modi stating India does not accept mediation in the Kashmir dispute, RT has reported. President Trump has also claimed credit for brokering peace in several other conflicts, but expressed frustration over not receiving the prize, blaming political bias toward liberals. A recent YouGov poll shows that over a third of Americans who do not support President Trump believe that the United States is already in a dictatorship. Among Democrats, 35% agree with this view, and 30% of independents also share the belief, while only 7% of Trump voters do. This perception has grown since early 2025, with critics like California Governor Gavin Newsom comparing President Trump's actions and events like a military parade to those of authoritarian regimes, Mediaite has reported. The data reflects rising concerns about Trump's leadership style among his Democratic opponents. Representative Nancy Pelosi and her husband, Paul Pelosi, reportedly earned between $7.8 million and $42.5 million in 2024, potentially boosting their net worth to as high as $413 million. Much of their wealth comes from a savvy stock trade made in Paul's name, including timely sales of Microsoft and Visa shares before major investigations and lawsuits, and lucrative call options on AI chipmaker NVIDIA and cybersecurity firm Palo Alto Networks. Their portfolio saw an estimated 54% return in 2024, outperforming the S&P 500 and major hedge funds. Despite criticism and calls to ban stock trading by lawmakers, Pelosi has softened her stance but maintains that she has no direct involvement in the trades, the New York Post has reported. The couple started 2025 strong with investments in AI health firm Tempest AI and energy company Vistra. Archaeologists in London's Southwark have uncovered one of the largest collections of painted Roman wall plaster ever found in the city, revealing vibrant frescoes from a high-status Roman building over 1,800 years old. The fragments, discovered in a Roman-era demolition pit, feature bright yellow panels decorated with birds, flowers, and musical motifs, along with rare details like ancient graffiti and a possible painter's signature. Led by the Museum of London Archaeology, experts spent months painstakingly reconstructing the artwork, offering new insights into Roman artistry and the daily life in ancient Londinium, NPR has reported. The findings will be studied further and eventually displayed to the public, shedding light on Roman Britain's cultural richness. Insurance giant Aflac suffered a cybersecurity attack, potentially exposing Social Security numbers, insurance claims, and health data, marking the largest breach yet in a recent wave targeting the U.S. insurance industry. The hacks, also reported by Erie Insurance and Philadelphia Insurance Companies, are linked to the cybercrime group Scattered Spider, known for using social engineering posing as tech support to infiltrate networks quickly. Aflac stopped the intrusion within hours and says no ransomware was deployed, but the breach's full impact remains unclear, CNN has reported. Experts warn that Scattered Spider's rapid, widespread attacks pose a serious ongoing threat to American businesses. Scientists detected a mysterious, powerful radio pulse from Relay 2, which is a NASA satellite that has been inactive since the 1960s. The brief flash, lasting less than 30 nanoseconds, was so intense that it outshone all other sky objects momentarily. Using the Australian Square Kilometre Array Pathfinder, researchers pinpointed this signal to within 20,000 kilometers of Earth, matching Relay 2's location. Since the satellite has been dead for decades, the pulse likely originated from an external cause, such as an electrostatic discharge or a micrometeorite impact, NDTV has reported. Now, this discovery could help develop new methods to monitor space debris and satellite damage. A new study suggests there's a small but notable chance that a passing star could disrupt our solar system's stability over the next few billion years. Thousands of simulations show that such stars may cause significant changes in the orbits of planets like Mercury and Pluto, increasing the risk of collisions or even ejections. While Earth's chance of being involved in a planetary collision or an ejection is about 0.2%, which is much higher than previously thought, researchers stress that these events remain unlikely, The Independent has reported. Still, the findings highlight how vulnerable our solar system might be to cosmic disturbances.